Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Office Bloke Aidan.
I'm G.
Okay, some unbelievable places that actually exist.
Okay.
Where's your favourite place that exists in the planet?
The rainforest.
Etihad Stadium.
Etihad Stadium, the rainforest. I don't remember going to the rainforest.
I've not been. You didn't ask me if I've
Where
been.
you've been?
Right.
Oh, where I've been. I don't know. Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls, that's an unbelievable
Nice,
place.
that is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of places out there that are unbelievable,
Yes.
as they say. But let's.
What's yours?
My most unbelievable place I've ever been that actually exists? Probably São Paulo in Brazil.
Nice.
It's just busy as anything, and it's just a real eye opener.
I'm surprised you're talking about like busy cities. You've been to places in India and stuff like that.
I've been to places in India,
That's
which are
not
real
probably
busy.
real busy.
São Paulo was a real busy place.
Yeah.
It's got a good vibe, you said.
Just a massive spread of buildings
vibe.
as far as you could see.
Yeah.
It was a great vibe, yeah. Because you, especially into football like I am,
Yeah.
it's a massive footballing city, so it was good to see.
Yeah.
But anyway, these are 15 unbelievable, Jeff.
Maybe
places.
we can go to some of these after.
Yep, that actually
Yes.
exists. Let's go.
You may think these images are from the movie Avatar, or perhaps some other distant Earth-like planet. It's hard to believe these places exist on our own planet. Here are 15 unbelievable places that actually exist. Number 15, Underwater Waterfall, Mauritius. Mauritius is known for its idyllic beaches and crystal clear sea, but there's an unbelievable phenomenon at the southwest corner of the island that appears to be an underwater waterfall. Despite how it looks, this isn't actually a flowing region of water, but instead an optical illusion that happens because of the seafloor structure. The island sits on an ocean
Isn't that like a thing all over the place though? Like underwater, like cliffs?
Oh yeah,
pretty
there is.
much.
Yeah. You see trenches and all kinds of stuff, don't you?
That's why you should never dive off a cliff because you don't know what's down there.
I would
Might be
never
hitting
dive off
another
cliffs. I
cliff.
don't even like going in the sea. But it's I've never fancied Mauritius. Just looked boring.
Yeah, I'm not a really big fan of going places like Maldives or so because there's nothing to
That's
do.
because
Just
you're
looks-
young.
All
Because
you're
you're
doing,
older.
is just because of what it looks like. There's nothing to do there.
I'd rather go
This is
Switzerland
where
and
people
places
go
like
on
that.
like the honeymoon and stuff,
Yeah,
isn't
it
it?
just looks boring to me.
Boring.
Yeah, I agree.
Shelf, which is no more than 500 feet deep. At the edge of the shelf, however, it soon plunges down to depths of almost
Is that real?
2.5 miles.
Isn't it?
Was that video?
And
Like,
what you're actually
real?
seeing in the underwater waterfall is not water falling down into the abyss, but particles of sand that are being pushed over by the current.
Wow.
Number 14, Glowworm Cave, New Zealand. New Zealand is one of the most scenic countries in the world, but beyond the peaks of the mountain ranges, the deep valleys, and the glaciers are a series of caves that seem to have come straight from a fairy tale. The reason for this is because they're home to glowworms, which are the larval forms of a species of fungus gnat that are endemic to the country. Known locally as titiwai, which means projected over water, the bioluminescence that's produced in the insect's abdomens is designed to attract prey, and happens as a result of a chemical reaction between a luciferase enzyme and a molecule of
mint, that,
luciferin.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It creates one of the most stunning sights that you can see in the natural world, and makes for a magical boat ride through the cavern.
Yeah, I bet it
where
does.
Thousands of the glowworms are active. Number 13, Tianxi Mountains, China. China, Tianxi's mountains in the Hunan province are some of the most unusual mountain formations in the world. Covering an area of around 17,000 acres, they're made from quartz sandstone and first began to emerge from the earth about 400 million years ago. The subsequent erosion of the rock has created these skinny mountains, which reach a peak of 3,976 feet and are named after the legend of a farmer who led a revolt against an oppressive regime who called himself the Son of Heaven.
I'll put like a zip line through there.
Yeah.
When the mountains are covered in mist, there's something
China, no
mystical
thanks.
about them. And it's no surprise they were the inspiration for mountainscapes in movies like Avatar, and are one of the most popular tourist destinations in the region. Number 12, Grand Prismatic Spring, Wyoming, USA.
Wyoming.
The stunningly colorful Grand Prismatic Spring is in Yellowstone National Park.
I was gonna say, is that in Yellowstone? But I didn't think Yellowstone was in Wyoming.
I think I've done it span a few different states.
I'm not sure.
I always thought it was just the one.
I think it spans a couple of states.
I think we watched a video a while back and that was on there.
Is it something you can't go in it though, can you?
Can't go in. Why would you want to go in? It's boiling, right?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's something you can touch or go near.
I'm not sure.
I think you can go within the vicinity. I don't think you can sort of like put your hand in or touch the water. I don't
Think
think.
baby
Would it burn you?
Unless
Or
I'm
is it
thinking of
just like a
somewhere
hot
else.
bath?
I might be thinking of somewhere else, but it's I think I might be thinking of one in Russia that's radioactive.
Yeah.
sort of thing. But I've definitely seen something
I
about
think
this.
that if you could go in it, there'd be people in there.
Probably, yeah. You probably see the steam coming off it, but like you say, it might be too hot.
Spring in the U.S. It's bigger than a football field at about 370 feet
it?
wide. And with a depth of at least 160 feet, you could fit a 10-story building inside it.
Wow.
The spring is fed through a crack in its floor. Through
That
which
don't look bigger than a football field.
No, but it is,
Oh,
obviously.
but it does. When you think, look at the size of the people around the edge, it does.
Yeah, I know, but I reckon if you put a size of...
Yeah, going that way.
It's a circle, not a...
as much as
Yeah.
560
Okay.
gallons of water is released into it every minute. Its normal temperature is 160 degrees Fahrenheit,
There you go.
and it's because of this that it's surrounded by such vibrant rings. The color is created by the presence of microbes that live in hot environments. And depending on the time of year, you'll see reds, oranges,
That's
yellows,
amazing.
greens, and blues. Number 11, Monte Rima, Venezuela. We're so used to seeing natural formations that have irregular shapes that it seems almost impossible for something to have a rigid design to it. Monte Rima in Venezuela isn't your ordinary mountain though, and its 12 square mile summit is surrounded by 1,300 foot tall cliffs, almost in a square shape. It's actually on a tri-point border between Venezuela, Guyana, and Brazil, and has long been part of local beliefs.
Looks weird, that, doesn't it?
Paimon and Capon people believe it to be the stump of a giant tree that once bore all the fruits and vegetables in the world, and the seemingly
Right, geez, sounds
unscalable
legit.
cliffs have inspired a number of stories, including The Lost World by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Paradise Falls from the movie Up. Number 10, Lake Retba, Senegal. On the northwest coast of Africa, about 18 miles northeast of the Senegalese capital, Dakar, is a lake
I feel like I've seen this as well. Isn't there meant to be like animals in there that are really deadly?
Oh, I don't know.
Hold on, I've not seen that.
No, I've not. I thought it might be something to do with like rust.
Yeah, it's like a copper belt in Africa, isn't there? But I think that's more like South Central Africa that may cause it. So like, you know, there's definitely like copper belts and stuff like that because it's and there's definitely a lot of natural minerals in the land in Africa, isn't there?
Yeah.
Which may cause it. We'll find out what causes it now.
anything you'll find elsewhere in the world. Called Lake Retba, it has an extremely high salt content, and this provides ideal conditions for Dunaliella salina algae to thrive, which are bright red colored and make the water appear to be pink. This unusual hue is far more prominent during the region's dry season between November and June, and the effect is accentuated by the magenta bushes that grow around its shores. The lake is an important economic center too, with thousands of people who rely on retrieving and selling the salt deposits, as well as fishing the waters. Catches here don't quite match up to what's possible in other lakes, however, because to survive in such salty water, the fish only grow to around 1/4 the size they would do elsewhere. Number 9. Red Beach, Panjin, China. China is a country that's full of incredible geographic sites, but there's perhaps none as surprising as the Red Beach in Panjin. It's around the mouth of the Panjin Shangchaisi River, where the soil is so alkaline that very few species of plant can grow. One that does particularly well is the Sueda salsa, which has a deep red color and is why the region looks so remarkable. It was once thought that Mars was red because it was covered in crimson plants, and if that were true, the beach at Panjin is surely how it would have appeared. With so many plants growing on the shores, the Red Beach is the largest wetland area in the world, and together with the largest reed marsh in Asia, which is also there, the whole region is a protected area of natural interest. It's home to more than 260 different species of birds and more than 400 species of other types of animals,
Wow.
including the rare red-crowned crane and black-mouthed gulls. Before we move on, be sure to subscribe to Top 5s with notifications on. Number 8. The Crooked Forest,
Oh, that's
Poland.
weird.
Deep within a forest near the town of Grafino in Poland is a phenomenon that has confused researchers and visitors alike ever since it was first discovered. Called the Crooked Forest, there are an estimated 400 pine trees that have for some reason grown very differently to
strange.
normal.
Strange, isn't it?
It's thought that they were planted during the 1930s when the region was a part of Germany, and after emerging from the ground like usual, they bent towards the north for several feet before growing upwards again. It's not known why this has happened and why it's something that only these 400 trees have done, but there's a couple of theories. The first is that it's the result of human design, perhaps because of a tool that was used when they were first planted, or the alternative suggestion is that they were all subject to a freak weather event, such as a snowstorm while they were young in their development.
Makes sense.
No records exist to support either theory, however, so it's quite possible we'll never know for certain.
That's definitely where horror films should be made.
Yeah.
Number 7. Stone Forest, Madagascar.
Whoa.
Madagascar is usually thought of as a place with an unparalleled amount of biodiversity.
I just think
Its
about the movie.
geographical features are equally impressive. The Stone Forest,
I always think about the capital I can never pronounce.
Antananarivo.
Antananarivo.
So you can
just like
pronounce it.
which is within the Singi de Bamaraha National Park, began life hundreds of millions of years ago as a lagoon. Limestone deposits formed on the bed and, due to tectonic activity, were lifted above the water's surface. As the lagoon receded, more limestone was revealed, and it was worn away by the monsoon rains over the following
Going on
millennia.
that bridge.
Yeah.
This, combined with
I wouldn't even need
groundwater
harness
erosion
there.
that formed caves that subsequently collapsed, has left a series of towers with canyons between them, which has resulted in the largest such formation in the world. Its name means where one cannot walk barefoot.
Like, imagine
And
you
that's
fell
an
and
apt
landed on
warning.
that, though.
These pillars,
Yeah.
some of which are up to 2,600 feet high, are sharp enough to easily cut through flesh or equipment, so have to be traversed with the utmost of care.
No, you don't want that.
Number 6. Lake Baikal, Russia. Lake
Wow.
Baikal, which is in southern Siberia, is the largest known freshwater lake in the world, which contains almost a quarter of our planet's non-saline surface water. At 5,387 feet deep, it's the world's deepest lake, and is also thought to be the oldest after forming around 25 million years
Why would you do
ago.
that?
As you'd expect, there's a wealth of plant and animal life in the region, and it supports countless villages
why
and
you do it?
tribes.
A lot of these places in northern Siberia, when they freeze over, they use as roads. So, like the Volga Don, for example, the river. When I used to ship stuff into Siberia, I used to use, or northern Russia, I used to use the Volga Don as a transit lane. But we had to wait for it to froze over so we can get the trucks down there.
Trucks.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's that thick.
It's that thick. You'd be able to drive the trucks down, and you had to do it in certain months, and then otherwise you had to go by barge. So it was a certain month by road, and
You
after
can
that,
see how thick it is. It was like that thick.
yeah, yeah.
I still wouldn't trust it though.
I would.
But the thing that's
Try
particularly
trusting a
amazing
massive,
about
like,
this place is what happens
piping
when
thing
it
on the
freezes
back. It's
over.
like 80 foot
Because
long.
it's formed in a valley, it's exposed to freezing winds that blow across its surface, and this leads to the creation of unbelievable ice
looks
structures
nice, that.
that are hard to believe form naturally. Methane bubbles are often trapped in the ice. Small particles are blown together, frozen, melted, and refrozen to join into unusual shapes. And rocks can even be seen sitting on their own icy pedestals. At the right time of
Cool.
year, this is one of the most serene and awe-inspiring
Bet it
places
is.
on Earth,
Yeah.
and well worth a visit
Ah.
if you get the chance.
I think we'll sit tight on Russia for
Number
the time
5. Richad Structure, Mauritania.
being. I'm saying it.
Also
Where's
known
that?
as the Eye of
Africa.
Africa, the Richad Structure is a strange
Is that how you
formation.
pronounce it?
Mauritania.
I thought it was called like Mauritiana.
No, Mauritania. Nouakchott is the capital, for those who
Nah,
asking.
cheers, mate. I don't think anyone asked them.
I've actually shipped, the only reason I know is because I've shipped an oil rig to Nouakchott. Yeah.
in the desert rock near the small town of Ouadane in Mauritania. The inverse dome is 25 miles in diameter and has exposed various layers of rock that appear like concentric rings. It's one of the easiest natural structures to see from space.
Yeah,
But amazingly, it's very hard to see from ground level. And if you were there, you'd probably be unable to notice anything different about it from the surrounding land. Quite how it was formed has been the subject of scientific debate ever since it was first discovered in the 1930s. The first assumption was that it's an impact crater from a meteorite, but the lack of evidence of any superheated rocks has ruled this out. Instead, it's been formed by millions of years of erosion of softer rock that was probably deposited during a time when the region was underwater. Quite why this happened in such a circular fashion is still unclear. There are ridges and valleys that follow the concentric lines of the Richad Structure, and evidence has been found that humans have lived here for hundreds of thousands of years.
Big quarry.
Ancient artifacts have been
So-
unearthed that date back to the Stone Age, such as tools and spears. Strangely, however, none have been found at the center of this depression, which also discounts any possibility that this was a prehistoric mine of some sort. With such delicate rock, there are
Say
calls
Mao
to make the
said
structure a protected site to ensure it can be studied for years to come and, hopefully, reveal some of the secrets as to how this strange place came to be. Number 4. Fly Geyser, Nevada, USA.
That's in Nevada.
Fly Geyser looks like it would be at home on an alien planet, but amazingly, it's only about 20 miles north of the town of Gerlach in Nevada. Although you might think this to be a natural formation, it actually is the result of human activity when a well was drilled in 1916 with a view to irrigating water. Due to the geothermal activity in the region, the water was close to boiling point, so the well was abandoned. But a calcium carbonate cone began to form around the opening. A second hole was dug in 1964 by an energy company, but the water wasn't hot enough for their needs, so they abandoned it too. And the structure that formed around it is what we see today.
Wow.
It has a number of openings which the water shoots 5 feet high out of, and the entire structure is currently between 25 and 30 feet tall. Various platforms and pools have also been created across 74 acres. The water's unusually high silica content and the presence of algae that thrive in the conditions are responsible for the multicolored deposits that have solidified around it. And because it's heated to a temperature of around 200 degrees Fahrenheit, it produces quartz, something that usually takes 10,000 years to happen in other geysers.
Wow.
Even though there are a couple of other geysers nearby that have been formed in a similar way, none are as large or as impressive as the Fly Geyser is. Therefore, one of a kind and something you won't see anywhere else in the world. Number 3. Nik Mine Mexico. What's the biggest crystal you've ever seen? Well, however large you thought it was, it's nothing compared to what a team of miners discovered near Nika in Chihuahua, Mexico. In 1910, a cavern was found at a depth of 390 feet, which has become known as the Cave of Swords.
Wow.
And to their astonishment, it was full of gypsum crystals that were up to 3 feet 3 inches long. 90 years later, another mining crew took things a step further when they were drilling a new shaft and found the Giant Crystal Cave, which itself was 980 feet beneath the surface. This cave had once been flooded with hot water, which allowed minerals to deposit in crystalline structures. The largest of the crystals to have been seen was 39 feet long, 13 feet wide, and thought to weigh as much as 55 tons, which makes it the largest one ever to have been found. Conditions in the cave aren't exactly inviting to people though, with temperatures reaching 136 degrees Fahrenheit and a 99% humidity. Humans can only be in there for up to 10 minutes without full safety equipment. Even if you were prepared for this, it's not possible to visit the cave currently. After a robber tried to steal a crystal and ended up suffocating and dying, it was shut permanently and allowed to refill with water in the hope that the crystals can be preserved and continue to grow until improved methods of exploration.
Realistically, if it was just there like that though, and you knew there was loads of crystals in that, I'm not surprised someone tried to steal it.
Yeah, but when you think, I'm going to go down there, I wouldn't if I were you, mate. It's 160 degrees.
No, but how many
Fahrenheit,
people actually knew that?
humidity.
Did he actually know that at the time?
Right, if you've got to do your own, if you're going to steal something, do your homework, right? If you're going to rob a bank, you're going to know what you make sure it's open, number one.
Yeah.
Right?
Can become available. Number 2, the Gates of Hell, Turkmenistan.
Turkmenistan.
Not only is the existence of the Gates of Hell in Turkmenistan hard to believe, but the way it was formed is perhaps even more difficult to believe. If you had visited this place near the village of Devasa 50 years ago, it would have looked just like the surrounding Karakum Desert, with sand stretching out in every direction you look.
Won't get that close.
In the 1970s, the country was part of the Soviet Union, and the authorities were on a campaign to identify all areas of natural resources that could be mined and used to support the growing population. In 1971, geologists arrived in the area and believed the ground below to contain a cavern that was full of oil. So they set up a test rig to drill down and take further measurements, but soon found there to be a large pocket of gas just beneath the surface. Now, there are no official Russian or Turkmen records of what happened next, but according to the sources close to operations at the time, the ground collapsed beneath the rig and swallowed the drill, as well as several top Soviet scientists. The remaining researchers were now faced with a problem. They could detect large quantities of methane being released from the hole they had just created, and believed this to be a possible health hazard. Their calculations suggested that the best way to deal with it was to burn the gas, and that it would run out within a few weeks. It was then decided to throw a grenade into the hole, and the Gates of Hell was born.
Wow.
Someone calculated it wrong, because since that day almost 50 years ago, the hole is continually burned. The crater is now approximately 230 feet across and 66 feet deep, and is filled with fires, boiling mud, and ferocious orange flames. Plans have often been drafted to try and extinguish it for good, especially considering it sat above one of the largest natural gas deposits that are anywhere on Earth. But such is the scale of the problem that no one yet has found an adequate solution. Now it's one of the most popular tourist sites in the country and has become an area of biological research because of the organisms that have been found to be living in the center of the crater. It may perhaps burn out one day like the scientists in the 1970s thought it would, but based on current progress, it could be several more decades before it even seems to begin slowing down.
That is mad.
How's something just been on fire for 50 years?
It's the gases.
The gases
Yeah, I know, but like, I'm just like the concept of that.
Turkmenistan has a massive like gas reserve. I think it leads out to the Caspian Sea, doesn't it? So the pipelines that where you get all your natural gas from and all that kind of stuff all comes from that region, or a lot of it comes from that region, not all of it. But when you see the Russians pumping the natural gas, it all comes from like towards the Caspian area. Good little country, Turkmenistan.
Number 1. Cano Cristales, Colombia. The Cano Cristales is a small tributary river that feeds into the Guayabero River of Colombia. But due to its unique plant life, it's also commonly referred to as the most beautiful river in the world.
Look at the colours on that.
Yeah.
The fast-flowing water passes through a region that's on the edge of the Amazon rainforest, the Andes, and the eastern Llanos, and is almost perfectly clear. The riverbed has numerous holes and dips in it because of the way the rocks caught in the current erode the bedrock, and this has produced the ideal locations for a species of plant called Macarenia clavigera to grow. During the summer months, it takes on a gloriously red hue and also provides shelter for other species to grow that adds yellows, greens, blues, and blacks into the mix. It's no wonder that this place is also affectionately known as the liquid rainbow, and is so unusual that many visitors still can't believe that it's real, even when they're standing right next to it.
It's good that.
Yeah.
Subscribe to Top 5s for more.
Some great places there.
I want to go to that last one. That looks amazing.
Yeah, it's a. I'd love to go to Colombia. It's just one of them places where you
It's a
just
bit
think
dodgy.
you might need a guide.
Yeah.
Don't know. You need to do a lot of research before you went. I think to
I
sort
think
of
you
make
have to
sure
go
you
on
go
an
to the right
organised
places.
trip.
That's what I'm saying. You need a guide. I think, although you don't want to turn up in the wrong place in
No.
Colombia.
Yeah. Be
But
no
it's,
more.
yeah, it's you might get into the to a bit of mischief.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some places on there which just absolutely mint,
Yeah.
aren't they? The
Oh,
colours
yeah.
and the way it develops. That just looked like a spill of some sort, didn't it? That last one. But
Yeah.
then when you get up close to it and you look at it and you see all the different colours in the plant life and
Yeah.
all that, brilliant.
Yeah. And even the first one, that was amazing. It was like wasn't water; it was sand that gave the illusion.
Yeah. It's some great places on Earth, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
So
Some
go and visit.
unbelievable places, mate.
Unbelievable. Yeah, they actually exist.
They
as well.
actually exist.
we didn't
as
know
well.
existed.
Yeah.
Exactly. I knew the one in Turkmenistan did. I've seen
Yeah.
that before.
I knew the one in Yellowstone existed
Yeah,
as well.
I've seen that
I've
before.
seen that.
Yeah, but that's some great places,
Yeah.
like I say. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers.
Bye.